Hey guys, Chad Corbett, co-founder and trainer here at alltheleads.com. This is yet another of our Tips from the Trainer series. What I want to talk about today is why every investor should have a real estate license and every agent should have a deep understanding of the real estate investor's model, if not be one themselves. If you've noticed, we don't train our real estate investors any different than we do those in real estate brokerage and vice versa. And one of the things that I commonly hear is, from investor gurus or and people in groups who have gotten the impression from investor coaches or gurus, is that, if you're going to be an investor, you shouldn't have a license because it's a liability, not an asset. And I'm here to strongly disagree with that. And if you spend enough time looking at our content, listening to our mastermind calls, you'll know why. I'll point you to, and we can link it here, but there's a video I did with a case study that we did a couple of months ago with David Pannell. And I always point to him. He's such a good example because he started out in brokerage. But, as real estate agents, a lot of times brokers don't want their agents being investors. They don't want them doing deals. And to me, that's just downright hypocritical. Like, we're supposed to go, we condone everybody else buying and selling real estate, but not us, like not the ones who represent them. And I think that there's this gap in the industry between brokerage and investment that doesn't seem to be bridged by more than I'm going to say probably around 5, certainly less than 10%, but maybe 5% of people in the brokerage community. And the same thing, I'll point my finger at you too, investors. Like, a lot of you guys, you have this perception of real estate agents and you don't go find the right real estate agent. So we'll start with investors. Usually, the biggest reason that people tell an investor they shouldn't have a license is, well, it's just a liability. They can report you to the state and do this and that. And I call bullshit on that. If you're doing business ethically, you have nothing to worry about. I've had real estate license in 4 different states. I disclose on my contracts the way, and you'll hear in David Pannell and I talk about this in his case study video. I present all of the options to every seller. So here's what I can sell it for in top retail condition, the ARV. I can sell that. You can own this house, and you can have that money. But it's going to take this much time and this much money to risk. And based on your situation, I just don't think you can do that. Would you agree? And then they select themselves down to as is. So they have 2 options. They can sell as is or they can sell wholesale. And as is, my definition of as is what can I put this house on MLS for with complete market exposure? What price will it go under contract within 7 days and close within 30 days? To me, that's a fast sale on market. So that's a fair as-is value. That's just my personal rule. You may disagree with me, but that's where I price mine. And when I list something as is, that's my rule. It needs to be ratified in 7 days, closed in 30, and that's an as-is, where is sale. But if they don't have 30 days to wait and they have to do something now, then they're going to self-select right down into that cash deal, the cash offer at a wholesale price. And David uses the exact same methodology. They do take 2 people on the appointment. But it's what I wanted to show you is the transparency that comes with that. Like, I don't know, I'm not your realtor. I'm not an investor right now. I'm just Chad. But I'm going to show you your options. And I'm going to allow you to make a choice, and then we'll know how I can help you. And when you have that much, when you have those options in your business, you can be completely flexible and nimble, and you can be a transaction engineer on the spot. When you see what's best for them, or you see that they don't have any other options, you can lean the conversation in that direction and get it done right there. There's none of this make a cash offer, break rapport, try to get your realtor to show up tomorrow and pick up where it fell apart on you. It just doesn't work. And ask me how I know. I've done that the wrong way hundreds of times. I've actually can't think of one that's worked out. But what I learned is when I just got rid of the labels and went in knowing that I could be a realtor or I could be an investor, went in, was completely transparent, showed them their options. The ones that were highly, highly motivated, they don't give a damn about listing. They don't want to talk about it because they're in such a stressful situation. They just want relief. And maybe that's in the form of money, maybe it's in the form of taking social pressure off. Whatever their problem is, they're going to do something today, whether it's with you or someone else. Having a real estate license is not going to get in the way of that. If anything, it gives you an opportunity to say, well, actually, Mr. Smith, I noticed there were 3 or 4 guys leaving when I got here. I just want to let you know I am a licensed realtor, so I'm held to a national code of ethics. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to be representing you, but I do think it's fair that I tell you that up front, just in full disclosure. So do you think that gets you more trust or less trust? Of course it gets you more trust. Like, they know you have something more to lose. And I was having this debate actually just this afternoon. I've wanted to make this video for a week and I haven't gotten to it. Ironically enough, just a few hours ago in a local a Virginia real estate investor group, I was having this debate with other investors that, they've got this gut feel that they should have their license, but they've been told not to do it by people in the RIA, by other people. And I fully support, if you're an investor and you think, you want a real estate license, go get it. I mean, you're going to invest, maybe by the time you get everything said and done, you're going to invest $1,500, $2,000. But how much money are you going to save over your career? If you save 3% on every disposition, like when you flip, or even if you're what I call a wholesale, you go buy a house for wholesale, close on it, clean it out, and maybe throw some paint and landscaping, and then put it on MLS and sell it for a big premium. Like, if you're only paying a buyer's agent commission, not a listing and buying, how much money are you going to save? How many deals do you plan to do for the rest of your career? What's the gross dollar volume of that? Times 3%. That's what a real estate license can be worth to you. So I'll get off my soapbox on that. And now, realtors, it's your turn. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about when I talk about wholesaling and when I talk about assignment and subject to and all these different strategies that real estate investors use in the residential space, then shame on you. Like brokers don't teach this because they're terrified they're going to get in trouble. And I think that most brokers are so worried about covering their assets that their timid nature keeps their agents from finding at least 20% of the opportunity in the marketplace. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can have both. And you'll hear David and I in that video I'll point back to. We talk about how he separates his brands and his paperwork and how I do mine. Like, I have separate contracts, separate logos, separate bank accounts, separate credit cards. So if anyone ever does say, "Oh, no, he said he was my agent," then I have signed disclosures. I can stand in a courtroom. There's no commingling of funds. There's a clear separation between the business entities. So as a realtor, you can go out there and do these investor activities, and you're not jeopardizing your license. All that money that we just talked about on the investor side that they're missing, that you have because you already have a license, you're not jeopardizing that. If you're acting ethically and you're disclosing early and often and over, like you can be as careful and conservative as you want, but don't be afraid to jump in there and say, I'll buy this house. And so many people, so many realtors let the best deals go. And if you're like, well, Chad, I don't have the cash. I'd like to be an investor, but who has $300,000? That's what it takes in my market. I'll tell you this, you're in the relationship business. And if you don't know about private money, go educate yourself. Because there are people, I loan money out at 15% interest with a point up front to investors. And they come to me. I'm not predatory lending. There's such a demand in the marketplace for private money lending that people actually come to me to borrow on those terms. So you can go find a doctor, an accountant, an attorney, someone who's a dentist making $300,000-$400,000 a year that doesn't have time to find their own investments and actually run a business flipping houses. They're happy to make 8%, 10%. You can pay them a point or two up front to sweeten the pot. You can get yourself capitalized if you think creatively and you get out there and use what you already know. Build relationships. So every realtor here should be actively investing. Every investor here, if you're not a realtor yourself, you should have one that, like a relationship like this. You guys literally consider yourselves a team. You go out to dinner, you have drinks, like you have an understanding. Each of you know what's behind the curtain of the business. You're so much more nimble. You can strike on so many more opportunities. And at the end of the day, like selfishly, what I care most about in this business is the overall impact that what we teach can have on the community. I love that you guys get paid and that you can build your careers. But for me, when I first stepped in and said, okay, if I'm going to step out of my business, it scared the heck out of me. But to know that what we teach can actually help hundreds, like I can help multiples of 100 more people than I can just in one market right here. So I encourage you to think about everything you've heard here. If you're guilty of, taking one side of the fence or the other and saying, well, that other side's not for me because, examine examine why. So is it because of what your broker said, or is it just fear? Is it like, well, I'm afraid I'll flunk out of real estate school, or I'm afraid that other realtors will think I'm a shyster because I've heard what they say about other real estate investors. And by the way, that's something very valuable. If you guys haven't read the book by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up, then that's a great book to start. If you feel that way, if you're letting other people's perception of you dictate how you do business or what strategy you use in your business, that's a good beginner level book. Start with that one. Like, that concept is pretty elementary, but just being honest and candid. And then from there, there's a couple other books that I can give you later. But if you feel like that, if you feel like the reason you don't have a license or you're not actively investing is because of something external, go read that book and listen loud to the message. And then get real with yourself and say, am I serving my clients to the highest degree by not being able to offer options on the spot? Am I monetizing every opportunity by not being able to monetize to have options on the spot and to be nimble and to be able to switch from, okay, let's flip this house, to, okay, we're going to represent you as a conventional listing? Like, you should be able to do everything in between. So this has been a Tips from the Trainer. I was on a pretty tall soapbox today. This is something I'm obviously opinionated and passionate about. I have been like a dual licensee and investor ever since I got into residential real estate. And I think that I just want to share that with all you guys. There's not a reason my phone rings where I can't help somebody first and monetize it second. So get yourself to that point. If you have questions, if you want to ask me anything, drop some comments below. Let me know, like, what's on your mind. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Drop below. If you agree with me, even better. I'll be your friend then. Give us a comment below. If you guys find value in this is a part of a series. If you're on our blog, look at the tag below here. You'll see Tips from the Trainer. If you're on YouTube, there's actually a playlist. Look for our Tips from the Trainer playlist. But if you found value in this, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and every time we upload a new Tips from a Trainer video, you'll be notified. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.